Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bob the Astronomer. Approximately 3 years ago, I did a really bad thing. I was wandering around inside the local Home Depot store. I was not particularly seeking to buy anything. I was just wandering around. I just love the Home Depot store. I was wandering through the lumber aisle and I came upon a customer who had a gigantic cart all stacked up with 2x4s and other pieces of wood. So I went over to the cart, right up to the edge of the wood with him standing there. I looked down at it for about 4 or 5 seconds like that. And then I lifted up my head and I said with great enthusiasm, "No termites!" However, I am really old, so I could be wrong. Then, approximately 100 feet away, I heard the panicked voice of the store manager say, "Termites! Where?" Recently, I did another really bad thing. I was shopping at the local Zehrs grocery store. I just love the local Zehrs grocery store. There was a husband and wife at the checkout just ahead of me. And they had their groceries all over the checkout, like the counter with the conveyor belt. But one thing was not on the conveyor belt, and that was 2 great big packages of chicken stacked on the metal part that wouldn't move to the far end toward me of the conveyor belt. So anyway, I stood there patiently, and all their products moved along, and they got them checked out, but these large packages of chicken just stood there on the metal part and wasn't moving at all. After about 30 seconds, the woman said to me, she apologized and said, "I'm sorry, I can see that there is chicken not moving." Immediately I said to her, "Yes, I noticed that there was chicken not moving. And I assumed that the reason for that is that the chicken is dead." Then I said to them, "Actually, you're probably better off not trying to eat a live chicken. Absolutely not eat a live chicken. Believe it or not, those things can put up a nasty fight." Well, it turned out that the cashier was laughing, the customers were laughing, and everybody was happy. And why not? How many people wander into a grocery store and start telling dead chicken jokes? Actually, I said to the customers, "You just heard my best ever dead chicken joke. I could start a trend." Did I ever tell you about my mother's pink rhododendron? Approximately 20 years ago, maybe it was 15 years ago, I bought my mother a really beautiful pink rhododendron. It was just amazing. But I knew at the time that rhododendrons can be difficult to grow. So I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And then I got a really brilliant idea. A friend of mine worked at a stable for horses. And through that connection, I was able to get, absolutely free of charge, my entire station wagon absolutely jam-packed full with fresh horse manure. It's not what you know, it's who you know. So I went into my mother's backyard and I dug a gigantic pit. I filled the pit almost full with the fresh horse manure. And then I planted the rhododendron on top of all that. That rhododendron did really well. And so, to this day, whenever I go out on a date, I always tell the lady, did you know that at one time this station wagon was absolutely jam-packed full with fresh horse manure? And that I used that manure to grow the most beautiful pink rhododendron you could ever imagine? Ever need, eh? I'm thinking about going on a dating website. And I'm going to give all my hobbies, information, things like that that I normally would put there about myself. And then at the very end I'm going to say, oh, by the way, at one time, my entire station wagon was absolutely jam-packed full with fresh horse manure. In retrospect, looking back on it, I can advise anybody who is considering filling their station wagon with fresh horse manure and trying to grow a pink rhododendron, I would say to that person, go for it. In retaliation for my dead chicken jokes, my friend Jim sent me a really brutal email with a terrible joke, a long nasty joke that had something to do with Beethoven playing music in a cemetery. So I sent Jim back an email in a couple of days and I said to him, you know something, Jim? I think that I might be able to combine that joke with one of my dead chicken jokes. Jim sent me an email back, said, please don't send me the combination. So, approximately 2 days later, I sent an email back to Jim. In order to lure Jim into reading my email, I titled the email, New Developments in Robotics. And the actual email read like this. A dead chicken does not need to worry about oncoming traffic when it tries to cross the road, unless the chicken starts humming a Beethoven melody. A couple of days later, I sent another email to Jim saying, you know, Jim, lately I have not been able to think up any new dead chicken jokes. However, there are millions of dead chickens out there in the universe, and just by the law of averages, eventually a brand new dead chicken joke will come winging its way in my direction. Jim sent me an email back saying, I don't intend to read that joke. So I sent him a return email right away saying, sorry Jim, but when you read my last email, you actually did do the reading of it. Then I said to Jim, you know something, Jim? I could start a trend with these dead chicken jokes. If I persist, I could end up being the creator of the greatest series of dead chicken jokes in all history. You know something? There's another trend that I could start. That's a trend for people to fill their station wagons with manure and grow pink rhododendrons. Can you imagine how many great pink rhododendrons would be if a trend started like that? What an amazing thing to think about. Just think, ladies and gentlemen, 2 trends started with 1 video. Actually, at this time, ladies and gentlemen, if I ever become a successful comedian, do you realize that three of the foundation pillars of my comedy career will be termites, dead chickens, and manure? Well, I think I probably should turn the camera off about now. I think the lens cap is wearing out.